Welcome back to the MadTechTalk. So everyone is talking about the Samsung S25, about the Folds and all the top tier phones. But I asked myself a question and then I talked with ChatGPT. Is it worth actually buying a used flagship phone? So within this video, I'm gonna review the Samsung S21, which is the 5G option with 128 gig of storage. So this is the phone which I actually bought under $200, and you can find within the ranges of 200 to 250 on sometimes even up to 300 on Amazon. Refurbished. I also have left the link underneath this video, and also on like eBay and others. I used often the CEX because the CEX is a thing which I very much like, because on CEX I can actually test it out and stuff like that. This is not a sponsored video, I just went with them. So coming back to the phone. Is Samsung S21 still worth to be used in 2025, especially if you are on a budget, if you don't want to spend $800 on a new flagship, which is Samsung S25. And this phone actually I bought, as I mentioned, in less than, I think, like 200. So I actually bought it for like 160 bucks. And I think the kind of wear and tear on this phone, it's pretty decent. Yeah, I think it's alright. I'm actually going to show you that here a bit more. Maybe you can see it here a bit. So let's turn that phone on and let's actually test out some basic features. So regarding the spec, this is a 6.2-inch AMOLED display with 120 Hz refresh rate, which is actually the same to the Samsung S25. And this is obviously have been released in 2021. We also have the Snapdragon of 888, while obviously the new Samsung S25 has the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and this is, well, much faster processor. We have 8 gig of RAM here, while the S25 has 12 gig of RAM. But what I very much like is actually the photos and kind of the the basic spec comparison. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you kind of the display kind of brightness. I'm gonna also show you the kind of how the photos are going and what does it support, because this phone supports up to 8K. So you can see that it has an 8K of 24 FPS versus the Samsung S25, which is 8K on 30 FPS. It also and this phone S21 has 4K on 30 FPS and 60 FPS, the same as the Samsung S25, and obviously the 1080p supports all of them on the same way. So when it comes to the cameras, we have quite a big differences. So the wide camera has 12 megapixel, the telephoto is 64, and the third camera is the telephoto, it's 10 megapixel. So this is kind of on the Samsung S21. Now comparing that to the Samsung S25, Samsung S25 has 50 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel telephoto, and the 10 of the ultra wide, which is, making a difference, but I don't think such a huge difference. But obviously, when we see it on the photos, it is quite a difference. But if you're looking for a phone which you're gonna spend, 200 to 300 max versus 800, well, we have a big difference right here. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna show you kind of what's the feel of the phone. So I think it's pretty decent, like it's pretty fast. So in the general use, when you use it, it's kind of, it feels very fast. It feels fast with the usage. Like when I compare it to, some flagships, it's actually very decent. So that 120 Hz display is definitely making a difference. Obviously here we have the brightness, so I can actually put it up. So now it's on the maximum brightness, and yeah, it is decent. Let me actually show you that here as well. So with that, I think it's definitely worth it. So it definitely looks very bright. and it works very, very fast on this budget. So now let's grab a look at the cameras and actually test out the cameras. So I'm going to test out all of them so you can see kind of the difference between, and we'll also do recording some videos. Okay, so we're starting with the 0.5, then on the 1, then number 3 is zoom. Okay, so number 3 it already feels pixely, but on number 1 it feels actually very, very decent. So with the photos we can also go to 64 megapixel camera and look. I think that's pretty amazing, especially for this price. So obviously within the more you have few more options like Pro Video, Panorama, you can do on the foot kind of a setup. So there is a few different setups which you can go with, and I think that's, you know, very decent. So let's grab a look into the videos, right? So I'm gonna start with, you have from HD to 8K, HD it's 720p. So we're gonna obviously test it out from the full HD, which is 1080p. Actually on 0.5 first. Yeah, 0.5 looks alright. Then we have the 1X, yeah, that's also quite okay. And then 3x. Well, 3x is obviously using the hard zoom, and we can see that. So now let's go for the UHD, which is testing the 4K on 30 frames. 4K on 30 frames. Yeah, that is actually very nice. That is decent, I would even say. On 0.5. Yeah, it gets pixelated on the side right here, so I can feel not pixelated, but it gets a bit blurry. Well, on the 1, it's actually very nice. On the 3, it will get pixelated. Yeah, but it is still decent. Look at that. Okay, so now we're gonna check out the 4K on 60 frames per second. Ooh, this is good. You can actually feel those 60 frames per second. Oh wow, that's amazing. Alright, and the last one, obviously, we're gonna test out that 8K. Well, if I have an 8K, I'm gonna test out the 8K. Okay, so this is 8K resolution. Oh wow, okay. It is, well, I don't, like, I'll probably see it on the monitor, but like on the, I wouldn't recommend recording on 8K on daily basis. So that's pretty, I would say, decent. Okay, so now let's test out the selfie camera. So grabbing a selfie. Not bad. So it's a bit wider. Okay, that's decent. I think that's very decent. Let's check out the portrait mode. And the wider portrait. Honestly, I think that's pretty cool. Let's check out the video. So video, obviously you have the option going from Full HD to HD. So Full HD has 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. So we can see the 30 frames per second. This is the 30 frames per second, which I think it's alright. Then 60 frames per second. Well, you can immediately feel it's a 60 frames per second. And then we're going to UHD, which is also having a 30 and 60, which is, you know, front camera, which is having that. That's nice. Oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. Let's be honest, this is pretty cool. And let's check out the 60 frames per second with the UHD. Yeah, this is nice. Okay. So I think when it comes to the cameras, it's pretty decent. I would be honest, it feels very nice. It feels, for the budget, it's pretty awesome. And I think, you know, compare it to something which is around $200, $250, even max $300 when you buy it, you know, refurbished. Comparing to something new in 2025, well, I think this is more of a kind of a better spec. Let's test out YouTube's and the speakers. I'm gonna put some music. Yeah. That's decent. Yeah, definitely good. Yeah, I don't think there's anything, you know, wrong here on that side. So now, let's test out some basic gaming. So, I'm gonna go with the PUBG first. It's not lagging. It's actually pretty decent. It's on HD as well. So, I think that's actually alright. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, so I think, you know, PUBG works very nice. I don't see any lag here, and I see it's working, yeah, decent, very smooth. It's on HD, so it's kind of the maximum set it can be. Alright, let's test another one. So now testing the Asphalt Legends Unite. So yeah, let's play some racing. So I can see that the actual kind of setup, it's pretty amazing. Like I can see that the phone is slightly warmer, so I can immediately feel it. But like you don't feel it, like it doesn't kind of, you know, annoy me in any way. So I think that's decent. Nothing is lagging on the game, which I think it's pretty cool. So my general kind of summary, I think this phone is definitely worth it. This you know, 150 to maybe 250 bucks, even 300 refurbished from Amazon. I actually saw that when I went to the Amazon, I saw that they're selling that for like 280, 290 pounds, which is around 300 something dollars, refurbished from Amazon, which I think, you know, it's very worth it. I actually left the link underneath this video. Remember, if you buy it from those links, you actually support our channel. And with that, I think it's definitely worth looking into, because for the price, which I paid for this on like an eBay store, 160 bucks, it's definitely worth it. So this is it from me. Let me know what you think in the video, and remember, if you like this, just hit that like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Take care.
MadTechTalk, tech so fly, breaking down gear, let's amplify. Sub like, don't miss a thing. Tech reviews with a little bling. We out for now, but stay tuned. More fire tech is dropping soon.